Donald Trump is waking up to nightmare news, the worst 100 days in presidential history. Even Fox is unable to really list any accomplishments of Donald Trump. They're saying his accomplishments were declassifying the JFK files, ending federal support for paper straws, and ending production of the penny. Good job, no deals, Donald. So as Donald Trump tries to cope with the fact that Americans despise this vile piece of trash that he is making post after post after post. I think he's done like 40 posts this morning. I'm not making this up. Literally 40 posts about how great he is. In just 100 days, we've witnessed a miracle. We witnessed the greatest thing ever. No, Donald, in 100 days, you and Elon Musk have taken a wrecking ball to the federal government. You engage in a hostile takeover. You've engaged in a disastrous trade war. You've defied the United States Supreme Court orders. You've disappeared migrants to concentration camps in El Salvador. You've destroyed our alliances abroad. Oh, but by the way, you did unite Canada against you, and Prime Minister Mark Carney of the Liberal Party went on to win the election yesterday that nobody thought was possible. And the conservative Maple MAGA politician who many thought was going to actually be the prime minister 2 or 3 months ago, Pierre Poilievre, not only did the Conservative Party lose last night, he lost his own riding. He lost his own seat, which would have been unthinkable. So I guess you did do that, Donald, and you are inspiring countries across the world now, like Australia and others, to reject MAGA politicians like you. Take a look at the first 100 days in photos right here. Of course, you've got Donald Trump attacking President Zelensky in the Oval Office and humiliating the United States. There you have dog killer Kristi Noem, the Secretary of Homeland Security, standing at a concentration camp in El Salvador with a 60,000 Rolex watch, embarrassing the United States and just making the United States look awful. Here you have Donald Trump holding up his sign, how he's tariffing the world, where he made fake formulas to tariff penguins and to tariff our allies, you know, even more than adversaries. And then he withdrew those tariffs and then escalated the trade war against China, causing economic devastation. Oh, and there's Elon Musk with a chainsaw bragging about how he and Donald Trump have destroyed our federal government and slashed and cut and burned essential services and are attacking Medicaid and Social Security. So no wonder, Donald, on the 100 days of your presidency, consumer confidence is at an all-time low, essentially since COVID. Yeah. So right now, you've basically manufactured the COVID economy. And here's what it says. Consumer confidence sank 7.9% in April to a reading of 86, the Conference Board said in its latest survey, the lowest since May of 2020. So Donald Trump has his Treasury Secretary, Scott Besson, give a press conference earlier this morning. Was he going to announce a deal? Did you get any deals done? Because y'all said 90 deals in 90 days with Trump's reckless trade war. So is there a deal? No, because he's no deal, Donald. Here, play this clip of Treasury Secretary Scott Besson.
Thank you so much, Caroline. Thank you, Mr. Secretary. The Chinese continue to say that the U.S. and China are not engaged in any consultation or negotiation on tariffs. You recently said you've talked to your counterpart, but more about, quote, traditional things like financial stability. So can you clarify, is the administration talking to Beijing specifically about tariffs or not?
Well, we're not going to talk about who's talking to whom, but I think that, over time, we will see that the Chinese tariffs are unsustainable for China. I've seen some very large numbers over the past few days that show if these numbers stay on, Chinese could lose 10 million jobs very quickly. And even if there is a drop in the tariffs, that they could lose 5 million jobs. So remember that we are the deficit country. They sell almost 5 times more goods to us than we sell to them. So the onus will be on them to take off these tariffs. They're unsustainable for them.
And they are saying you guys are not talking about it. So is that true?
They have a different form of government. They're playing to a different audience. So I'm not going to get into the nitty gritty again of who's talking to whom. But as I said, I believe for the Chinese, these tariffs are unsustainable.
And very quickly, 2 days ago, you said you
So Donald Trump has gone from making up that he's having conversations with China's President Xi Jinping, and that there were all these high-level discussions. And even Scott Besson before was saying, "Oh yeah, we've got people in touch with those people. You know how we're doing it here." To right now saying, "I don't want to answer that." As our editor-in-chief Ron Filipkowski explains, that's because Donald Trump continues to lie, claiming that Xi has called him to negotiate. So now Besson has just decided he's not going to talk about it because he's already hit his quota of how many lies he will tell in a week for Donald Trump. But let's see what they are saying in China. China says it'll never kneel down as it seeks partners in trade war versus the U.S. That's their message right now. Treasury Secretary Scott Besson, as part of this disastrous press conference earlier as well, said that I don't think we're going to have supply chain shocks because he goes, I think that retailers and American companies, they were prepared for this. They were waiting for Trump to do this. So I'm not worried about supply shocks. Play this clip.
Thank you so much, Caroline. Thank you, Secretary. Back on China, does the administration anticipate supply chain shocks or supply shocks coming now that cargo shipments from China are significantly down? And if so, are there plans in the process of how to address that?
I wouldn't think that we would have supply chain shocks, and I think retailers, they have managed their inventory in front of this. I speak to dozens of companies, sometimes daily, but definitely weekly, and they know that President Trump is committed to fair trade and have planned accordingly.
Well, that's great, Treasury Secretary Scott Besson, who lives in lived in an actual real life version of $22 million pink Barbie home, your Malibu Barbie home that you lived in, that you sold from Charleston, South Carolina. But, lots of Americans are worried. Lots of people are worried. Lots of companies are worried. And they've all been giving red flags to Donald. Hey, there's supply chain issues. We've been speaking about it here on the MeidasTouch Network now for over a month, since Donald Trump announced Liberation Day, which is really Liquidation Day, Great Depression Day, whatever you want to call it, that freight volumes are down significantly. Trucking volumes are down significantly. Our ports are looking emptier than they've ever before. Products are not getting into the United States right now, and companies are about to run out of inventory. One of the interesting moments from this morning's Trump 100-day economic press conference as well is that Donald Trump's press secretary, Caroline Leavitt, says it's a hostile and political act if Amazon displays the number next to the price of each product that shows how much the Trump tariffs are adding to it. She goes, hostile political act. Play this clip.
So it was reported this morning that Amazon will soon display a little number next to the price of each product that shows how much the Trump tariffs are adding to the cost of each product. So isn't that a perfect crystal clear demonstration that it's the American consumer and not China who is going to have to pay for these policies?
I will take this since I just got off the phone with the president about Amazon's announcement. This is a hostile and political act by Amazon. Why didn't Amazon do this when the Biden administration hiked inflation to the highest level in 40 years? And I would also add that it's not a surprise because, as Reuters recently wrote, Amazon has partnered with a Chinese propaganda arm. So this is another reason why Americans should buy American. It's another reason why we are onshoring critical supply chains here at home to shore up our own critical supply chain and boost our own manufacturing here.
Is Jeff Bezos still a Trump supporter?
Look, I will not speak to the president's relationships with Jeff Bezos, but I will tell you that this is certainly a hostile and political action by Amazon. And Secretary, if you have anything to add.
As Tim O'Brien says, White House describes Amazon's efforts to make clear how much its pricing is affected by tariffs, so consumers know why prices are climbing, as a hostile political act. Other people would just call it math. By the way, doesn't this give you the same vibes as how Donald Trump dealt with COVID? Slow down the testing, stop the testing, because if you don't test, then maybe people will just pretend that we don't know how the people are dying, and just you won't have more cases if you don't test. So now they're saying don't show what the tariffs are doing, and then maybe people will just not know and they'll just suffer, and they'll be like, why am I suffering? By the way, after that was posted, Amazon's like, well, we don't really think we're going to do that. I mean, how pathetic is Jeff Bezos right now? Jeff Bezos literally got the front row seat at Trump's inauguration, a better seat than Trump's cabinet members at the inauguration. And Bezos's businesses are getting hurt by Donald Trump. But, Bezos figures, I guess, look, if I'm part of the oligarchy, I'll get kicked back some government contracts. NASA will kick me back some contracts, and this company will kick me back some contracts. So it'll all balance out. Yeah, you people will get screwed, but for me, it'll balance out. Speaking of, UPS announced 20,000 job cuts, 73 facility closures as Amazon reduces its volume. So there's absolutely an impact taking place right now, a big one, may I add. And so what else are they doing on 100 days? What's Donald Trump's defense secretary, Pete Hegseth, doing on 100 days? Here's what he wrote. This was his 100-day message today. This morning, I proudly ended the Women, Peace, and Security, WPS program inside the Department of Defense. WPS is yet another woke, divisive, social justice Biden initiative that overburdens our commanders and troops, distracting from our core task, war fighting. WPS is a United Nations program pushed by feminists and left-wing activists. Politicians fawn over it. Troops hate it. DOD will hereby executive the minimum WPS required by statute and fight to end the program for our next budget. Good riddance, WPS! Exclamation point. Donald Trump signed WPS into law in 2017. You want to know who was the co-sponsor of WPS? Secretary of State Marco Rubio. WPS was a Rubio-Trump initiative, you moron. As I've said, the corruption of this regime is matched by their incompetence, if not exceeded by their incompetence. And I guess we're lucky that they're so incompetent in this stuff. But I mean, isn't it on full display there? That's your 100-day message. You don't want to why don't you Google it? Why don't you Google who did the WPS? It's Donald Trump. Why don't you check that out? A few other points I want to make on today. West Coast dock workers and other longshoremen members across the country livid at Donald Trump destroying their livelihoods. And you actually had the head of the longshoremen union, was kind of pro-Trump. Let's be real. And finally, while Donald Trump is destroying our economy, wrecking our supply chains, and engaging in just this reckless and despicable behavior, let's take a look at what's happening. What's Qatar doing? Trump golf course and villas announced in Qatar as part of a beachfront development. Qatar giving Donald Trump some great real estate. That's what Donald Trump's using the presidency for. Or how about what's Don Jr.? Donald Trump, Qatar golf courses, deals that, I guess those are the deals that Donald Trump's focused on. Don Jr. and White House crypto czar David Sachs, they've launched their club for the ultra wealthy. They call it the executive branch. That's actually the name. It costs more than $500,000 to join. If you want that access, you join the executive branch. You pay $500,000. That's what's going on in the first 100 days, folks. We'll keep you posted with more news throughout the day. Make sure you check out tonight at 5 Pacific, 8 Eastern. We'll be hosting the Governor's Town Hall right here on the MeidasTouch Network Live. It's right here on the YouTube channel. We'll see you then. Have a good one.
The truth is more important than ever. Check out our new Truth Over Lies collection at store.meidastouch.com. All 100% USA union made.